We're a little bit earlier than normal, but we are here again on a Friday night. It is the final drive on DMVSTREAM.com. So glad you could have us in your home tonight. I'm Jeremy Huber here with you as it is another interesting week of high school football. Literally only one game tonight in the area, in the DMV, and it was an exciting one. Stonebridge moving on to another state championship, the 7th in school history, the 8th for head coach Mickey Thompson, as his Stonebridge Bulldogs pull off a 27-21 win over Massaponax, the top seed in 5A in Virginia. We'll check in. We're hoping to catch up with Coach Thompson on the show tonight, but we have some other great guests for you tonight as well. We will check in with the head coach of the DeMatha Stags, Elijah Brooks. Of course, another WCAC title for the Stags. And Coach Brooks, we'll talk to him about that and much more tonight. We'll also hear from the head coach of the Friendship Collegiate Knights. Again, Mike Hunter will join us on the show tonight as his team getting ready for a match with H.D. Woodson, the Turkey Bowl champs, in the DCSAA Class AA final tomorrow, 3:30 start at Eastern High School. We'll hear from Coach Hunter in just a bit as well. Also, we'll hear from Carl Buckwalter, the surprising Dominion Titans into the regional title game in 4A West in Virginia, as Dominion will go ahead and take on Powerhouse Salem tomorrow in a 2 p.m. start. Dominion into the farthest they've gone ever in their program history. We'll hear from their coach tonight, Carl Buckwalter, as he takes his team down to Salem for a big matchup down there. So all that coming up on the show tonight. Again, lots to talk about on the show. Again, if you want to hit us up, do it via Twitter. Hashtag DMV, hit us up at DMVStream, hashtag it with the final drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with the final drive. Again, the only game of the night tonight, remember, all the Maryland games were supposed to be this week, got pushed back because of the matchups at Navy. The AAC championship game scheduled for tomorrow, as Navy will host Temple. The championship games in Maryland scheduled, moved from Raven Stadium to Navy this year, of course. Probably better venue, all things considered, a little bit smaller, a little more intimate, maybe even a little easier to get to. But the issue, again, the Navy having to host tomorrow, because wanted to host, and as they look for maybe even a spot in a group of in a New Year's Day bowl game. But the Middies hosting tomorrow, so Maryland doing probably the smartest thing, just moving everything back a week, giving a little extra week for that drama to build. So what was supposed to be that Titanic matchup in 4A between Wise and Quince Orchard, scheduled for tonight, moved back to next Friday. Of course, Damascus and Franklin in a rematch of their 2014 state championship game. That one moved to next Thursday, and the 2A and 1A championships moved back as well. Everybody in locally playing tomorrow, like we told you, the DCSA championship game tomorrow. Also, the Virginia 6A North championship game. That is a Saturday game between Westfield and South Lakes. Also tomorrow, among the locals, we told you earlier, Dominion will be facing off against Salem. That'll be a Saturday game as well. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll check in with all the coaches. We'll hear from on the show tonight. It's all coming up after this. Remember, I'm Jeremy Huber. This is the final drive here every Friday night. Planning on at least one more episode for you next week. As the Maryland games are going on, preview those state games in Virginia, as we'll have at least two participants, Stonebridge in 5A, and of course the winner of the game tomorrow between South Lakes and Westfield in 6A. We'll hear from them as well next week, a little preview action for both of those. So we'll be back with you next week. But of course, this week, lots to talk about on the show. We will go ahead and do it right after this. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVStream.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at OleMetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarulis. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob. You got to remember to hashtag it, Ole Mets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our Top 10 at OleMetSports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. We told you about that big one coming up tomorrow in D.C., the D.C. SAA Class AA Championship, as it'll be Friendship Collegiate taking on H.D. Woodson. Friendship took the first meeting of these two this year. Should be another good one. Had a chance to catch up with the head coach of Friendship Collegiate, Mike Hunter, earlier today. Well, Coach Hunter, obviously your team coming off a pretty resounding win in the Class A semifinals last week against Carroll. I guess first off, you had played them earlier in the season. You had beaten them pretty handily, at least score-wise. Was there any issues at all in your mind of fighting off complacency again, saying, hey, we've beat this team already pretty big? Was there any of that worry in your mind, make sure your kids were primed and ready to go for that game?
No, we wasn't worried about it. Our kids, they're focused, and, our approach all season has been, let's be 1-0 this week. We didn't look back on anything from the past. Once we watch film and learn from our mistakes, we kind of move on from that game and look forward to our next opponent.
Yeah, and this time out, you're really able to go ahead and kind of strike on them early. Nykeem Johnson with a long touchdown. I believe last year when I called your semifinal matchup against Gonzaga, he had a big catch, didn't score on that one, but able to take this one in. How much of that was an adrenaline jolt to your guys that if there was any complacency, it was, hey, let's go out and win this game and do it pretty handily?
Nykeem's he's a big-time playmaker, and, anytime we can get him going early, that's going to be an advantage for us as a team. Last year against Gonzaga, I wish we could have punched that one in. We weren't able to. And, things got away from us early in the game, which we battled back a little bit, but it was a tough hill to climb. This year we punched it in, and, it was kind of the tell of how the game was going to go.
Coach, the trigger man in your offense, Chris Ferguson, he got banged up a bit early in the year, but he's back and seemingly playing pretty well. Assess his performance for you guys throughout the season.
He's matured a lot. He's understanding the offense, has a better grasp of what we're asking for him to do. He's becoming, he's just working on the little things, footwork and eye placement and things like that, making sure he's making the right reads. And, this is his first full year as a varsity starter. So, we knew we were going to see some growth, and I'm glad he's playing well at this time of year.
Yeah, playing pretty well, and you guys have your starting quarterback. Can't say the same for your opponent this week. Khalil Wright went down after you guys played them earlier in the season. We'll get to that in a second, but can you take me back to that win over H.D. Woodson the first time? It was a close one, a really kind of a high-profile game because they know where you two teams could end up at the end of the season. Tell us about that game and kind of what you saw from that matchup.
It was an exciting game. Obviously, Woodson is a team with a proud, you haven't been around as long, but we're very proud of the things we've accomplished here as well. And, both teams are always fighting to be, one of the better teams in the city, if not the best team. So we knew that game earlier this year was going to be, a big test for both teams. And, it was a well-played game, a well-fought game.
And what kind of gave you guys the advantage in that matchup that day?
I wouldn't say it was an advantage. It was less than a touchdown victory for us. We just found a way to get it done, to be honest with you. The kids, they just fought and never gave up, never put their heads down. And, we knew it was going to come down to probably the last minute of the game, which it did. I'm just glad we were able to come out on the winning end of it.
Now, I referenced it before. Khalil Wright, their starting quarterback, played in that game. He's been out with injuries since. From your film study on these guys, obviously you've seen him a good bit this year. What's different about them playing without him than when they had him?
Khalil, he's a outstanding player. The guy that they had step in, he's doing a great job as well. They haven't lost a game. They really haven't missed a beat since the change of quarterback. But that says a lot about their team and their coaching staff that, they're going to be ready to play. They kind of have the same mentality that we have, next man up. They're not going to let one guy go down and kind of ruin their season.
And Coach, of course, Coach Fuller does a good job over there. Coach Hunter, in this game, what are some keys for you guys to come out of this one with a victory on Saturday?
We just got to minimize the mistakes. The last time we played them, there was a lot of penalties on both sides, but that was early in the season, so I'm assuming both teams got a little better with that. I know we have, so hopefully we can minimize our penalties and, not have too many mental mistakes. When you got two good teams playing, it's normally the team that makes the least amount of mistakes that comes away with the victory.
And Coach, this is a rematch of the 2013 DCSA game. Really, in essence, this is your all's championship game. I know with Woodson, they've got the Turkey Bowl, and then they kind of have to reset their focus afterwards. Do you think you guys have maybe a little advantage on the fact that this is the game you guys point your season to?
No, I wouldn't call it an advantage. It's, if anything, they're playing very competitive games throughout the year. With, the playoffs, starting at this point. So we did a little something different with our schedule this year where we had a couple buys early in the season in the hopes of playing some games in November to kind of keep us in game mode and things like that. So hopefully that pays off. If not, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure something out next year.
And I will say one thing in closing, Coach, you guys did kind of go to a little more of a local schedule this year. You did still have some of the out-of-region teams, actually the ones that gave you your two losses. But did you feel like your kids liked that local schedule a little bit more because they got to play against some guys from around the area?
Yeah, we all enjoy playing, a lot of the local teams, coaches included, because we go out and we watch games and we see, the different coaches around the city, and we want to kind of go match wits with them, just like the players want to go out and play against, their friends or their guys they've been competing with as they grow up. So, it's kind of on both ends. And it also helps with the student body. They get to come out to more games and, just a whole bunch of different things that makes it a little easier when you play a lot of teams in this area.
Well, Coach, I know all of DC is going to have eyes on this one, the DCSA Class A Championship. You guys taking on HD Woodson should be a good one. Congratulations on the season so far, and good luck tomorrow.
All right, thanks a lot.
And we go from one coach going into a state championship game to another coach going to a state championship game. Mickey Thompson, head coach of the Stonebridge Bulldogs, joining us right now on the final drive, I believe on the bus ride back from Fredericksburg. Coach Thompson, is that where you are?
Yes, that's where I'm at.
Well, I bet it's a happy bus ride as your guys go ahead and get a big win tonight against Massaponax. First off, congratulations on the big win.
Thanks.
Coach, this one a little bit different than last year's game, which really, was an instant classic where, you guys, it was a score fest. I believe 50-49 was the final score. This one a little more modest. What were the differences in this game and last year's game, maybe besides the score?
Well, last year we had a couple guys that made plays for us, and that's who we relied on. And this team, there's a lot of different guys that make plays at various times. We've had a lot of guys win games for us at different times, and this was no exception. We had an interception by a guy who didn't even start at the beginning of the year. We had a big strip in the third quarter where we got our hands on the ball, 2 turnovers. We got different guys making plays. It can be Easton Turner, it can be Tyrese Johnson, it can be there's all kinds of people, Leland Gertie and Brees and Block. We got so many people that make plays at various times, and I think that's what makes it a little more difficult to defend and a little more difficult to move the ball on, and a little more exciting because you don't know who the next star is going to be.
Yeah, and of course tonight, we talked a little bit before you came on the air with us, the fact that, you guys kind of left some points on the board early on and seemed like it was incumbent on your defense to slow down what can be a really explosive Massaponax offense. Talk about their performance, keeping you guys in it early.
It was huge. We had 2 trips down the red zone that we didn't convert, and if they turn around and score, or they turn around and scored on one of them, and then if they turn around and score on the next one, and the ball gets rolling, the game can get away from us. And I was really concerned about that, especially early on in the second quarter when I saw the momentum. They had all the momentum. We had 2 disappointing drives where we were right down there ready to score, and we didn't get it. And our defense came up with some stops. So just to keep it at 7-6 at halftime was huge for us.
Then the scoring kind of picked up in the second half a bit, Mickey, and you guys end up getting a pretty good performance, as you said, by everybody in the game. But seemed like that Brees, maybe not the big runs tonight, but really running hard and keeping the chains moving. That sound about right?
Yeah. We had I thought Josh Lawyer did a nice job, too, giving us some inside runs in tough situations. And, Josh is our horse, and we're going to ride that. And Easton came up and made some nice runs also, which was big for us because we got to get people off of threes.
Now, tonight's game, you know you and I go back a long time. I played against you as you were a coach at Parkview, and I was a player at Loudoun County, but covered your career in our path crossing. And I know you like to go for it sometimes, like to roll the dice. You guys came up a little bit bust on a fake punt play. When that happened, what did you see, and what was the feeling on the sidelines after it didn't work?
Well, I didn't, with the field position the way it was, the punt at that situation, especially in our, to gain 20 yards of field position just didn't seem worth it. And to be perfectly honest, the fake punt was something that we just put in on Thursday, and I figured it was worth a shot. I didn't have a pass play. I didn't have a thought of a play that I thought could work. So I was kind of at wit's end on that one, and I really didn't want to punt the ball for 20 yards of field position. So I took a shot at it. I mean, and that one, I think, maybe we lost 15 or 20 yards of field position. It was worth the gamble.
And contrary, you get stuck down your own end a little bit late in the game, and Bradley Block, guy coming over from Briar Woods last year, big punt for you guys, it sounds like, kind of got you some room to maneuver and end up stopping Massaponax, which really, from all one knows, is a run-based offense. How big was that to kind of get them a bigger field they had to move down to score?
Oh, that was a really big play for us because, you're not going to stop Massaponax on 3 and outs. And I talked to our guys on offense about that. I said, one of the things you got to do is move the football and not give them good field position, because our deep, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays to stop them. I mean, you just not going to go 3 and out with them. And we needed a little room there to get a stop.
And, of course, you end up getting the stop late. They get it down inside close to your red zone, but Hunter Petrakis with the big interception over the middle. Talk about that play and the feeling afterwards when you guys knew you're headed to another state championship.
Well, we thought, that was pretty exciting right there. And then, to be perfectly honest, I thought we could run the clock out with our offense. And, we had 2 opportunities to do that when we lost. We lost the broad run because we couldn't run the clock out on offense. And we lost to Madison because we couldn't run the clock out on offense. And that definitely crossed my mind because we couldn't run the clock out on offense. And we had to punt the ball away after the interception. I thought the interception was going to be the one that did it. And, we had to come up with another stop in order to win the game.
And that you do. And Mickey, of course, they're always going to ask you during the week about all the state championships and the records and all that. But I got a different question for you. You came to Stonebridge, I believe, in the 2000 season after a state championship appearance at Parkview. You're headed into what we were counting up earlier, I believe your 7th state championship at Stonebridge. When you took the job in Ashburn, did you ever think you'd have this much success?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'll be honest. I loved Parkview, and I loved everything about coaching the Parkview, and I really didn't want to leave. Circumstances made me have to leave, and I never thought I'd be able to have the support and what I have at Stonebridge when I moved over. And it's been as good or better than it was at Parkview. And, I'm just fortunate to coach at 2 schools that just supported me and support our coaching staff.
Well, they've supported you well, and you've returned their support in spades with all these state championship appearances. Of course, you don't know your opponent yet, so I won't ask you who it's going to be. Might be Highland Springs again. Might get a little shot at redemption against them, but whoever you get, good luck in that matchup. Mickey, and again, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Appreciate it.
Again, Mickey Thompson, head coach of the Stonebridge Bulldogs. I mean, you go back, and like I said, I go back a little bit with Mickey, played against his teams, always so well coached, and also covered him at Stonebridge and really how he got that program rolled and humming really early on as a AA school back in the day. And then, of course, the move up to 5A. They really haven't skipped a beat when it comes to what they've been able to do, and it's been a really exciting thing out there for a lot of those teams, for that team, that community, that Stonebridge team. Boy, have they been good under Mickey Thompson. Again, his record probably not what he would like in the state championship. Only has 1 with all those titles, with all those state championship appearances, though. The one he did get, his 2 twin sons were on that team. I believe his other son on last year's team that came close against Highland Springs. So I guess if you're going to win a state championship, you want to do it with your sons, and Mickey able to do that. So again, congratulations to Stonebridge. Big win for them tonight as they're able to knock off Massaponax 27-21 and move on to another state championship game. Well, we're going to go ahead and take another break. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to The Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com.
Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks. DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Welcome back into the final drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. Jeremy Huber here with you. Lots to talk about on the show today. Of course, had a chance to catch up with the head coach of the Stonebridge Bulldogs, Mickey Thompson. Now I have a chance to catch up with another top coach in the area, Elijah Brooks, head coach of the DeMatha Stags. A couple weeks ago, they were the winners when it came to the WCAC championship game. Had a chance to catch up with Coach Brooks a little while ago to talk about his team's big win and against St. John's in the championship game, and also their great undefeated season. Well, Elijah, obviously it was one of the more thrilling championship games in the WCAC, and that's saying a lot. Your win over St. John's last week. First off, congratulations on the huge victory.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Without a doubt, it was definitely a great game to coach in, and a lot of credit goes to St. John's, and we're really pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, 34-29. You guys make that 15-point comeback late. Coach, I know, you've kind of had a bit of a short time as a head coach, all things considered, especially how long some of the coaches have been in the WCAC. But even as an assistant, have you ever been in a game like that where your team's made that type of comeback?
No, we haven't. We've played in some close games. I think the one that comes closest to it was 2010 regular season versus Good Counsel. I think we were down 14, but we had a little bit more time to go. I think it was, the beginning of fourth quarter, and Marcus Coker made it, 3 long touchdown runs to seal the game, but nothing compared to this past Saturday.
And it's funny, Coach, obviously I know how good your team is and how used they are to winning. But anytime a team that hasn't lost the game, there's always kind of that doubt. If you can get them behind, they might panic a little bit. Did it help that your team had already faced a little bit of that obstacle this year, the game against Good Counsel, the game against St. John's in the regular season, that there was no panic to say, oh, we're down? It was just kind of, hey, let's go play football?
Without a doubt, I think that every moment, in the season, good or bad, you have to use it as a teaching moment. And, we actually relish in adversity and in adverse situations. So definitely falling behind early in the season and finding a way to win gave our guys confidence that, we would be able to, pull it out. And, I told the guys that, I said, guys, we're going up against a great St. John's team. There's a good chance we could fall behind. Now, I didn't think that it would be a situation in which we would be down with 5 minutes left to go in the game. But at the end of the day, they were prepared for it.
And Coach, looking back to the game stories, a lot of your guys really gave a good bit of credit to your quarterback, Bo English, basically saying, hey, just showed his leadership today. And obviously it's one thing to say that about a coach, but a 17, 18-year-old kid to show that type of leadership had to be impressive. Talk about him that day and what he's done for you all season and his time at DeMatha.
Bo actually, did a great job of keeping me composed. We a lot of times rely on, his temperature during the game, and at no time did he panic. Many times on the sideline, I'm checking with him, and he just kept saying, Coach, we're good. Coach, we're good. And so that actually kept me calm. He just did a fantastic job. And, we knew that he's been a great leader ever since he became the starting quarterback for us 3 years ago. But for him to finish it off that way just really just shows the type of, the type of player he is. He's a flat-out winner.
Talking to Elijah Brooks, head coach of the WCAC champion DeMatha Stags, their 4th straight. Coach, let's stay with the game. Anytime you get a comeback like you did, there's going to be some luck involved and maybe taking advantage of some luck. St. John's, they botch a pitch that gives you guys the ball back. Also, maybe the bigger one, the botch kickoff return that Nicholas Cross recovered. Can you talk about those 2 plays?
Oh, huge plays. We like to, basically say that, we kind of create, our own luck. We want to be prepared for, misfortunes just like that. And I don't know, what sparked, that play call for St. John's, but, thankfully, they mishandled the pitch on the option, which gave us life. And, I think we saw them. We went ahead and scored after that fumble. we kicked the ball off, and we saw them in a onside kickoff setup, and we wanted to place the ball in the corner of the field. And it just so happened they didn't react the way they should have, and it was great. It was a phenomenal effort play by Nick Cross getting down there to recover the ball, and I really think that put us in good shape.
Put you guys in good shape. You come back, you get the go-ahead touchdown pass. Then your defense stepped up late. You get the interception by Miles Canton. Obviously, sometimes not as many, probably more points than you would have liked, but it seems like your defense this year, be it the 2-point conversion stop against St. John's earlier this season or on this play, talk about what they were able to do when you needed them late to come up with a big play.
Yeah, we definitely gave up, more points than we're accustomed to. But whenever we needed them to respond, they definitely did that. And, Miles Canton, maybe, he's not a headliner or a 4-star prospect, but, that made him his 7th interception on the year. He has 6 forced fumbles and 4 extra point blocks. So it was just very fitting for him to make the play to seal the deal when he's been doing it all year for us.
And, Coach, an interesting ending to the game is Calvin Ashley, the lineman for St. John's, got hurt. You guys both agreed to stop the game, and as you could have run the clock out. And obviously, the feelings, and even St. John's said how classy you guys, your team was, and how the DeMatha was. Was it an interesting situation for you guys to kind of have that muted celebration more so than a normal game where everybody's going crazy? And did you get a chance to kind of have an unabashed celebration later in the day?
Well, we definitely wanted to be as respectful as we could to, St. John's and Calvin, who's a phenomenal player, because we experienced, that a couple weeks ago with Marcus Minor getting injured. And we just know and understand that, at that point, it's bigger than the game. And so we just wanted to be respectful. And while it was odd, the way, we had to reserve our feelings out of respect for them. We definitely, celebrated when the time was right in the locker room, when it was just us. And, we're still celebrating, so, but, we just didn't want to be disrespectful to St. John's, who we respect, and they fought tremendously hard. And then Calvin Ashley, who, was obviously hurt at that time.
Elijah Brooks, head coach of the DeMatha Stags, talk about his team's win in the WCAC championship game. We'll have more with Coach Brooks coming up in just a bit. But now I want to go ahead and talk to another coach who has got a big game this weekend. The surprising Dominion Titans had a win over the number 1 seed in 4A West last week. That was the Woodgrove Wolverines, knocked them off. The in-county rivals, now Dominion takes on an even tougher task. They'll face off with the Salem Spartans, the longtime kind of kingpins of AA/4A football in Virginia. Well, the Dominion Titans and their coach, Carl Buckwalter, had a chance to talk to him about his team's big season so far and their big matchup this weekend. Well, Carl, we had you on the show before the week before the Woodgrove game after your previous playoff win, and it was funny. I remember talking to you that night and thinking, boy, I know coaches have confidence, but it seems like he's got a quiet confidence. They're going to go out and win this game. Obviously, you guys doing a bit of an upset. Was that something you had to impart to your players? Do they feel the same way going to that game against the top seed in your region?
Well, it all depends on who you talk to as far as an upset. The only one that got upset was Woodgrove. We weren't upset. We went into the game as confident as you can possibly get because we're prepared. They did all the little things that you need to do, and we didn't play a very good first half either. And we come out, 14-7, and we knew at halftime that we got a great opportunity here if we just buckle down and do the little things that much better. So our kids did, and obviously it comes down to some breaks and some things like that. But you got to create those as well. But I told the kids we're not playing Alabama, we're playing Woodgrove, and we got our opportunity as well.
Yeah, most definitely. You're able to take advantage of it by getting that win to move you on to a matchup with Salem. We'll talk about that one in just a bit. But again, so many exciting plays in this one. A lot of them turned in by your quarterback, Vashawn McCants. Also had a good game on defense. Talk about his performance in that contest where you really needed a good game from him.
Well, Vashawn can basically take over a game, as you know, on offense, and that's fantastic. He and Jason Robinson, they alternate and cover the receivers, and the Woodward receiver is very, very good. Runs great routes, super hands, and then I guess we held him in check, so to speak. I think they ended up throwing for, well, he had maybe 80 yards or something like that. I'm not totally sure, but Sean on the last play, we're up 24-20, 23 or 23-22 or whatever it was, but their drive down, they're using the clock. They're doing a great job, and they have no timeout. So we get to a point where Vashawn, looks like he takes his chance. And, he's covering their guy, and he slips, and I guess he was going for the INT, and he slipped, and then George Richardson made the tackle. But Vashawn never, is in the blocking scheme, for field goal blocks and things like that, extra point blocks. Never. Well, that's what big time players make, big plays in big games, and he got on the edge, and he told Billy, I guess, move down, I'm getting it. Well, he was right, because he knew it was him that let the Woodgrove receiver loose. So he basically told me I had to make up for it, because at the time when he got the block happened, I was like, who blocked it? And everyone was like, Vashawn. And I'm like, what the heck? He just took it upon himself, and that's what, players do that.
Big-time players make big-time plays. Yeah, you talk about that. Well, as the icer, Vashawn blocked it, then Billy Walker ran it in for the score. Talk about the feeling on the sidelines after that play. Again, such an exciting one. And I guess part of you've won the game at that point. Is there any point you're saying to your guy, hey, get down, game's over with?
No, I'm not going to, you got to scoop and score. Billy he had no intentions. And he even said it after. He goes, I'm not falling down. I'm scooping and scoring this. And he said, I had nobody in front of me, and George was his escort there. And, he said, no, he was going to scoop and score and get going. But I wasn't, I was just in shock. Actually, when it happened, I was at the other end. I was at the far end, away from the block, and what went through my mind was like, because the kid, the kicker is very good. He's got a super leg. Mm-hmm. I was like, the kids fought back, worked so hard, and to get it beat in the last 8 seconds, it was like, holy smokes, because it's a winnable. It's a makeable kick, but like I said, big players come up in big time situations, and then it happened for us. It was our turn, and then we're moving on, and we're getting prepared for Salem, which is a very, very tall task.
Yeah, we'll get into that in 1 second. Carl Buckwalter, head coach of the Dominion Titans, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention your kicker, Ramon Blas, with his game-winning kick turned out to be after Vashawn blocked it at the other end. I saw the video of it. It didn't get over by much, but it definitely got through. How much confidence did you have send him out there for that kick?
Well, Ramon's got a super leg. He really does, and he works hard at what he does. But it's ironic that Coach Troff and I, before the game, we're catching Ramon's, practice kicks and all that stuff before the game. And Ramon's kind of, he's a little befuddled, and he's I know something's not right. Well, he uses a 1-inch block, and it's not in the bag. It's not there. And it's a typical kid. He looks at me, he goes, Coach, it's not in the bag. And I'm like, you're the only guy that uses it, man. What do you want? We didn't pack it. I said, there's no we in it, Ramon. You didn't pack it. So I said, you take extra kicks with the 2-inch blocks. It is what it is. Okay? Get extra practice. Well, Coach Traub and I are in the back, and we're catching his stuff. And we looked and we went, oh, no, because he's not comfortable at all with the block, the 2-inch. So, we sent him out there, and I told, Coach Traub, I said, look, we just got to get close. We got to get, we don't need any, touchdown. We just got to get close and give our kids a shot. Well, Vashon wiggled loose and got down there down to the 15, and and basically went out of bounds. And then some of the coaches were asking me, they're asking me, "Are we going to fake it?" Because I'm like, no, we're gonna win it right here. This is what we do. And so, we got a great snap from Tommy, got a great hold from Tyrell, and he hit it. And granted, he didn't hit it by much, but it dribbled over. So, and then the next hardest thing was calming everybody down because there was 50 seconds left. And I go, it comes down to stops. We got to stop them. So that's how it went. But it was I guess they tell me it was a fun game to watch as a spectator, but it's a nail biter. But I'm just proud of the kids because we came back. We weathered a couple storms and got some breaks and things like that. So it was very exciting and it's a big deal for Dominion High School. So the whole community and everybody's rallied around. It's a fun time.
Yeah, especially, Coach. And that's one where I wanted to go next, where, again, you've got a team who's gone before every expectation before them and gotten to a point where no one in the school has gotten to. How have you decided or kind of made yourself make sure you're keeping your guys focused on, hey, we've got more games to play. We haven't accomplished our greater goal?
Well, we started, believe it or not, we talked about this in the beginning of the year. And we say, and Coach Strauthbar brought this, we give credit where credit's due. The life expectancy of a football team is 1 year. So after we didn't make the playoffs last year by .03, we went 6-4. We started back to work on November 30th. And our goal every year is to play past our birthday. So November 30th of last year is our birthday. That's when this team was born. And we talked about being a state champion. We thought we had an opportunity and the right chemistry in here and a work ethic that we could have an opportunity. So everybody else can say, they're having a magical year or whatever, but our kids believed from the get-go that they're expected to be in this game. And then, we stumbled and we lost 2 games, and we had enough PowerPoints because I was telling the kids that, they owed the community 2 weeks. And they were like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "We need a bye. We got to win this game. We need a bye because we lost 2 games. So, if we would have run the table 110, we would have been, maybe the number 1 seed." Mm-hmm. So, I said, we thought we should be here. So then we ended up getting enough PowerPoints and getting the 4 seeds. So I told them, I said, "Okay, things are lined up. You got your 2 weeks back that you earned." And then it's kind of like, we talked to the kids even at halftime when we were down 14-7. And we talked about them to Woodgrove the next 24 minutes and what it meant. And November 30th of last year. So the kids buckled down, and then they came out in the kickoff and they fumbled their kickoff. I mean, we fumbled one of ours, and they fumbled theirs, and we were fortunate enough to recover on the one. So, momentum kind of shifted to that point.
Head coach Carl Buckwalter of the Dominion Titans, his team getting ready to face off with Salem tomorrow down in Salem. We'll hear more from Coach Buckwalter coming up, but part 2 of our interview with DeMath head coach Elijah Brooks coming up after this break. You're listening to The Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.COM is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at OleMetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarulis. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob. You got to remember to hashtag it, Ole Mets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our top 10 at OleMetSports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. Only local game tonight, really the only game, Maryland, Virginia, and D.C. in high school football. Stonebridge goes down to Massaponax, beats the top-seeded Panthers by a 27-21 score to advance to their second straight state title game, winning 5A North. They'll get the winner of tomorrow's matchup between Highland Springs, team that knocked Stonebridge off last year, and Norview. Should be an interesting one there. They 2 o'clock start there, but the Bulldogs will wait. Next week, they'll face off with the winner of that contest. Well, let's go ahead and continue our show tonight. Again, we heard part 1 of our interview with DeMatha head coach Elijah Brooks earlier in the show. Let's take a listen to part 2 with the DeMatha head coach. Coach, it's your first unbeaten campaign of your tenure as the head coach at DeMatha. I guess big picture, how does that feel for you?
Oh, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And, you know, I didn't understand or realize how difficult it is to go undefeated. You know, many times, you know, you can take winning for granted, but it's extremely difficult to do it. So to have this and experience this, you know, it's a phenomenal feeling, and it's definitely a credit to all the hard work our coaches, our players, and our entire program put into the season.
And Elijah, you know, going into the year, you lose Anthony McFarland, your top running back, you know, and obviously that was a blow, and people kind of said, hey, if they're vulnerable, this might make them really vulnerable at this point. Your team did such a good job kind of filling in for him. How did you do that, and did it all help the fact that you lost Darryl Turner so early in the season last year and were able to make up for his absence?
You know, we tried to continue to emphasize that, you know, this program doesn't rely on one person. And while, you know, losing Anthony, a player of this caliber, was a tremendous blow, you know, to our program, it just, you know, opened the way for other kids to step up and show what they could do, like a Delonte Helms, you know, who had a big year for us at wide receiver, Corey Sproul, and Miles Myrie at running back. And, you know, it's a true team game, and we've experienced it before, unfortunately. So our guys just had the confidence that they could do it again.
And, you know, your 4th straight conference title, and it's funny kind of looking back, DeMatha has done 5 in a row and 6 in a row, so I'm sure that's going to keep pushing the guys to keep it going. But this year, do you feel at all that there was some extra motivation for your guys, not only from the influx of talent at St. John's and all the press they got, but also the loss to Gonzaga last year that kept you from having an undefeated campaign last season?
Yes, each year presents, new challenges and new obstacles. And, I would be lying if I said that we didn't hear it. We were the returning champions, but many people, have written us off, and I think that our guys, they weren't vocal about it, but it definitely got underneath their skin. So it made them work, extremely hard. And then, we felt like we had a phenomenal team last year and we didn't, complete the season the way we know we should have. And our guys this year just didn't want to make the same mistakes that we made in previous years, in which, we had a game in which we lost focus or didn't prepare as well. And, so our guys really used that to build on this year.
Elijah, I'm looking back at some of the stories when you were hired. Folks were calling it a risky move. I mean, it's in the Washington Post. You can go look it up on the internet. There's actually the words risky move because of your young age, really. Does it feel good when you look back and kind of say you're able to vindicate the choice of what DeMatha did?
It's when I first got hired, I didn't even understand the magnitude of taking over a program, like this. And, so I definitely now at 32 can laugh and understand that people had a right to feel the way that they did. But it is a good feeling, more so for the Matha family who stepped out on a limb and hired me, for them to be able to say that, hey, we knew what we were getting when we hired, Elijah. So that is a good feeling. And, to this day, I'm extremely grateful for the DeMatha family for believing in me and all the people who supported us to this point. So it's a good feeling.
Coach, loyalty so big at DeMatha, but also when you mentioned your age, just 32 years old, you're coming off your 4th straight championship. There have been some coaches in this area at some colleges have targeted maybe to become part of their programs. Do you ever get feelers from some of these other schools, and is it something you'd ever consider?
It's you here at DeMatha, you have success, so you're often contacted, to gauge your level of interest, and things like that. But I feel like I had one of the best jobs in America, and I'm planning on getting ready for our 5th straight. So I'm very comfortable here at DeMatha and want to remain here as long as I can. But I understand that people do get calls, and you have to address them when they come.
And obviously well-deserving calls there. One last one for you with the coach Elijah Brooks of DeMatha, 4 straight WCAC champions. Coach, I ask this sometimes of all the coaches that I talk to, because it always seems like we never kind of get full, we never figure out exactly who the champ is, quote unquote. There's that league up the road from you, the MIAA. They've got a champion up in Baltimore. You guys played McDonough earlier this year and beat them pretty soundly. Of course, the top team, St. Francis. Is there any interest on maybe your all's part, of the WCAC's part, to maybe ever get a little series going with them, where both teams, both conferences champions, kind of fight each other and see who's the best in Maryland or in that whole DC Baltimore corridor?
Well, I definitely think it'll be great, for our state. I mean, the fact that you end the season and you can talk about potential matchups. Great programs like St. Francis or Wise or DeMatha or just other programs in the area, I think is phenomenal. I think it's a little bit above my pay grade, as far as decision making is going. Would I like to see it? Absolutely. I think the area would like to see it. But again, I'm not in a position, to make those calls.
Well, you're not in position to make those calls, but you're in position to make a pretty good football team. You keep doing it year after year. Elijah Brooks, head coach of the DeMatha Stags. Again, WCAC champions. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Elijah Brooks again with another great team. He'll have another good one next year. You can pretty much bank on that. Well, another coach who has his season still going Carl Buckwalter, head coach of the Dominion Titans, looking for a big win over Salem tomorrow. Again, we heard part of our conversation with Coach Buckwalter earlier in the show. Now time for part two with the Dominion head coach. Coach, is this team at all similar to your team in 1995 when you were at McLean? I know I followed that team a little bit. I was in high school at the time. A little bit surprising, had a really good do-it-all type of guy in Levon Carter. Is there any similarities there for you in your mind?
There's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of similarities when I took over McLean and then when I took over here. So it's just eerily similar to me anyway. But yeah, the teams are very similar in the fact that the 94 Highlanders, we went 2-8, but we were all coming back, and we had lost like 3 or 4 games by 1 point or 2 points, so we were in them all. So we knew what was coming, and we talked about the same expectations at that point in time. And it's, what is that, 21 years ago? But and now we preach to our kids that, you never know when you're going to get back in this situation. That 95 team was just honored as the greatest team in McLean High School history. Well, that's great. And I tell them to this day, and they're grown men with kids, and they look at me, and they still, of course, look at me as coach, and I'm like, we should have won that game. And now we're talking about the couldas and wouldas and shouldas, and I go, you can't do that. So we bring that back into Titan territory, and that's what we've been preaching and talking about, and trying to get them to, this is a business trip. We're not satisfied, and that's just what we've been talking about actually since November 30th.
Yeah.
So it is very, very similar. Yes.
Yeah, and that team got to the state championship game, fell there. Coach, let's get to your game this weekend, a state semifinal against the team who knows about being there. Salem, again, maybe the top 4A program in the state in some respects because they've won so many state championships, been there over the last 20 years. What do you know about Salem?
Well, Salem, I guess for 40 years or however long. They are top dog, and this is expected every year of them, and they've been there. It seems like every year they're in it every year. So we're in 10, 11, 12, 13 games, but they are extremely well coached. They always have been throughout their the history of their school. They're stout. They got playmakers, just like you don't get to be where they are every year without playmakers. Their defense is they could do a clinic. I'm so impressed. Their defense is disciplined, and they do their job. And that's what, I'm sure every coach preaches: do your own job first, and then, and help later. But they're very disciplined. They must, it's obvious they're in the weight room. They're tough. They're physical. They swarm to the ball. It's like they got, 13 guys out there when they only have, of course, 11, but they fly around. Their defense always reminds me of Coach Bendorf, his Robinson defense when they were winning state titles. And, I ended up going to Coach Bendorf and chatting about what he teaches and preaches. But it's just, their defense just flies around. And, it creates turnovers and gives the offense, obviously, a short field. But they don't turn the ball over either. They're like Novocaine. They just keep coming, and it wears on you. And they're not a big flashy team, but by the time you look up, you go, hey, what the heck? And they already got 21 points on you. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those methodical things. And the uniforms are, they're not flashy. They're very disciplined, and they're kind of like the Penn State uniforms. That's what they are, and very impressive. Very impressive.
Coach, what are some keys for you guys to come out of Salem with a win this weekend?
Well, we can't turn over the ball. It's all cliche stuff. We can't turn the ball over. That's number one. We got to get, some short field drives and get opportunities. But we got to make them drive. The field position is going to come down to field position, but it's going to be the initial wave, is what I always think. It's kind of like at Woodgrove, and we got to weather a storm a little bit, and have some success, and because they're going to punch us in the mouth, so to speak, and we got to respond. our goal is to jump on them, get a play, get something like we did against Amherst. I mean, the very first play, Rashawn takes it to the house. I mean, that gives our kids, we can play with these guys. So they've been there, obviously in these types of games. We went down in 2013 and we played them. And that team, I love that team here at Dominion, but we were just happy to be there. And there's a big difference, and then they got up on us 21-0 before we blinked and the game was over. It's one of those things that we got to weather the storm this time around. So, but it's exciting. Our kids expected to be in this situation, and I don't think anybody else did other than us. And that's, quite frankly, that's all we wanted. It's just for us to believe it.
Coach, one last one for you. Obviously, you catch a little bit of a break. It's a Saturday game, so I'd assume travel will be a little bit better. What are the travel plans for your guys to get them down there and keep it as close as it can be to a regular game schedule, considering the 4 or 5 hour trip you got in front of you?
Well, I'm always a guy who was brought up with my dad, and I'm going to miss my dad. The last time we were in a game like this, I was with my dad. So, we're going to miss him on the sidelines with me. But I'm a worst-case scenario guy, so to keep things as close as possible, we're leaving at 5:30 in the morning. So we're going to get up, and we're going to get the kids situated with a breakfast bag, and they're going to get on. They can sleep the whole way. And so we'll get down there with plenty of time. Even if, heaven forbid, the bus breaks down, we're going to have plenty of time. So we'll get down there, get comfortable, get something to eat once we get to Salem. Walk the field, do what the kids got to do, and get basically a normal routine on our business trip. So that's our travel plan. So we're ready to go.
Well, Coach Buckwalter, good luck in this one. Everyone from up in Northern Virginia loves the story of the Dominion Titans and hoping you guys can put another one in the books and get to the state championship. Again, congratulations, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Can I get one shout-out, please?
Sure.
Sure. Jeff Bostic, who's one of the original Hogs, the Redskins, is my buddy. He helped me out, actually, at McLean in 95 a little bit. Well, we knew the rains were coming, and we don't have turf here at Kings Dominion. We have natural grass. So Jeff made a phone call over to Mr. Kelly, who's the operations manager over at Redskin Park. So we were very, very fortunate to have Tuesday and Wednesday in the Redskin bubble. So we had some phenomenal practice because other than that, we'd be in the cafeteria just doing walkthroughs and films. So we were very, very fortunate. So shout out to, obviously the Redskins and the community and Jeff Bostic for hooking us up with Mr. Paul Kelly. So I appreciate you letting me give them a shout out. Thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. And I'm sure a lot of folks in Loudon very happy the Redskins gave you the shot to go over there and get some good practices in. Again, Coach, thank you so much, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Carl Buckwalter, the head coach of the Dominion Titans. Obviously, that one pre-recorded as he's probably sleeping right now, getting ready for that 5 o'clock trip down to Salem to take on the Salem Spartans. Let's go ahead and quickly run down the schedule for this weekend. Remember, tomorrow it's the Class AA DCSA final 3:30 start. Eastern High School, H.D. Woodson takes on Friendship Collegiate. Met earlier in the year. Friendship won the earlier meeting. This is a rematch of the 2013 title game. Remember, Gonzaga won the last two against H.D. Woodson. Tomorrow, locally, we'll see the 6A North Championship in Virginia as Westfield hosts South Lakes. Westfield, you're defending state champs. South Lakes has never been to a state title game. The winner of that one gets the winner of tomorrow's matchup between Colonial Forge and Oscar Smith. Elsewhere, 5A South tomorrow, Norview takes on Highland Springs. Stonebridge gets the winner of that one in the state championship next week. Remember, Bulldogs lost to Highland Springs in last year's state championship game. Of course, Dominion and Salem tomorrow, farthest Dominion's ever advanced in school history. Salem, you're defending state champions. Remember, Maryland games next week as they took the weekend off because of Navy hosting the AAC championship game. Your two games involving local teams there. Your 4A championship on Friday night, 7:30 start. It'll be Wise and Quince Orchard, battle of number one seeds out of their regions. 3A, it'll be a 7 o'clock Thursday start as top seed in the West region, Damascus takes on second seed in the North region, Franklin. That's a rematch the 2014 final won by Franklin. The Wise Quince Orchard game, a rematch of the 2012 final won by Wise. And that's going to do it for us on the show tonight. I want to thank all of our guests. Mickey Thompson, head coach of the Stonebridge Bulldogs, after their big win tonight, as they were able to go ahead and knock off top seed Massaponax and move on to another state championship game. Head coach of Friendship Collegiate, Mike Hunter, before their matchup with H.D. Woodson. Head coach of the Dominion Titans, Carl Buckwalter, ahead of their matchup with Salem tomorrow. And, of course, the head coach of the DeMatha Stags, Elijah Brooks, talking about DeMatha's undefeated season, fourth WCAC title in a row. What a season, what a coach. All those gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Remember, we'll be back next week, our final show of the year. We'll keep you up to date on the Wise Quince Orchard matchup. Also preview the Virginia State Championships, and we'll wrap up Damascus, their win, and maybe even catch up with the winner of the DCSA Class AA Championship, be it H.D. Woodson or Friendship Collegiate. Also, we will hear next week from the head coach of the Murray Frogs, of course, Mike Engelberg. His team won the Class A championship last week. We'll check in with him as well. That's all next week here on The Final Drive. I'm Jeremy Huber. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.